first question. Yeah, Avatar did change my perspective quite a great deal. Not when I was making the movie, but after, when the movie came out, and the way it was received, and the fact that it did this kind of phenomenal business around the world, and all of the letters that I received, not just from fans, but from groups, environmental groups and nonprofits and so on, which I mentioned, and then getting involved with them and really focusing for the last 6 months or so on these issues. And I mentioned going down to the Amazon and dealing with the plight of a number of indigenous groups down there that are going to be displaced by a dam that's being used to make power, hydroelectric power. So again, it's a collision of civilization and the natural world. In this case, you know, the habitat of 25,000 indigenous people is going to be essentially destroyed by a series of hydroelectric dam projects when there are technical solutions such as solar and wind and energy efficiency and so on that would make these dams unnecessary. You know, so the problem, so, you know, my perceptual change over the last few months in really studying the problem is not that we have to choose between a clean energy economy and a good economy or a strong economy. They're the same thing. The only people that are going to be hurt in the clean energy good economy are the people that are holding relentlessly to their entrenched way of doing business, the fossil fuel companies and so on. And right now they're big and rich and powerful because we've needed them for the last 150 years. So they're holding on to it, to the detriment of the human race and to our children and grandchildren. And that's the thing that we've got to realize. There will be lots of new jobs, lots of new opportunities as things change. And the only strong economies that exist in this world 15 or 20 years from now will be the ones that embrace the clean energy, green economy now. The ones that don't, that wait too long, will be the weak economies. And so these are things that have changed in terms of my perception. But in a general sense, as a filmmaker and just as a human being, I felt before when I was making Avatar that Avatar was the good thing that I was doing, if you know what I mean. That I was, when I put the movie out there, that's my statement, I'm an artist, I'm a filmmaker, that's what I do, and I'm done. You know, then I go on vacation. What I found was that that's when the work started. When Avatar went out, that's when the work started. It was actually, you know, it's actually challenged me even more to deal with these issues. Not just by making another Avatar movie, because frankly, we've got to solve these problems within the next 3 to 4 years. The length of time it's going to take me to make another Avatar movie, we're going to be, you know, we're going to pass so many important thresholds. The time to act and to talk about this is now. So yeah, I'm going to do documentary films. I'm going to do speaking engagements like this. I'm going to continue to be active. I'm going to invest personally with the money that I made from Avatar into renewable energy companies, whether they're utility scale companies or startups, wherever that investment makes sense. Because I feel that the thing that I can do best is not endlessly harangue people about what we're doing to the planet, but just show them the answer. The answer is go out and figure out how to make money in this new economy. That's the best thing, is by example. If people think that there's money to be made and jobs to be created in changing the world to what will be best for our children and grandchildren, it's a win-win-win. Except for ExxonMobil, and frankly, I don't care what happens to them. Okay, I wonder when we were going to get to the dishy stuff. You know, was I upset about not winning the Oscar? Is that the question, more or less? Yeah. No, you know, look, I mean, it was a complex situation, and I had to think about it very clearly ahead of time. And because of the interesting history, I mean, pretty much it was considered, and I don't know if this is true or not, but it was considered to be kind of a foot race between Avatar and The Hurt Locker. But The Hurt Locker was directed by someone that I love, who was a good friend of mine and a good colleague, someone that I was married to 20 years ago, and we've worked on I produced 2 of her films since then. She actually watched Avatar 5 times during different cuts of the movie and made notes on the film to me to try to make Avatar better. I watched Hurt Locker, gave her notes to make Hurt Locker better. I mean, that was our working relationship. We never dreamed that it would come down to that. So I had to think about it before I walked in there that night, you know, what this meant. And here's the conclusion that I came to was that I would be disappointed if Catherine did not win for Best Director. And I would be disappointed if we did not win for Best Picture. So I was slightly disappointed, but I was very happy for her that she won for Best Director. And I could go on and on about the specific reasons for that. The fact that, you know, a woman had never won, and if it was time for a woman to win as Best Director, it should be her, and that was her shot. And you know, I almost here's where it got complicated. These things are not just won, you know, by the vote. It's a political campaign. I had to ask myself that question early on. How hard do I want to campaign for this? And the answer I came to was not very hard to campaign. And you have to campaign. So as director, as I didn't want to rob her of that opportunity if that was a possibility that might happen. However, I campaigned vigorously in support of the various people that worked on my film that got nominated, like James Horner for the score and so on. And I was disappointed for them that they were not honored. So it's a complex answer to a simple question. No, absolutely not. I mean, let's look at that. You know, The Hurt Locker, for example, was terrible at the box office, but it's a great film, and everybody knows that. So no, there's a difference between films that I like and applaud and respect, and films that I would make myself. If I'm going to create the kind of imagery that I like to see on a screen, it's going to be expensive. If it's going to be expensive, it's going to be designed to play to a very broad audience. Other films don't set those goals for themselves. They don't expect to play to a broad audience. And that gives them certain freedoms to say certain things, to make certain artistic statements that I can't make as a mainstream filmmaker. I think where it gets, you know, complicated is when people forget that and they start to make mainstream movies, but then they try to make it like a glorified independent film, and they make something that doesn't play widely, it's a personal statement, but they lose $100 million doing it. You know, I'm not going to do that. Avatar is a personal statement, absolutely. But it's a personal statement within a film that's designed to play to a broad audience. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. In fact, I think it's actually kind of a challenge. In fact, I would even submit that it's harder to do than a small independent film that can say anything it wants.